$5,000 to reproduce every year, weighs about 70 pounds. And Tony Elliott knows, listen, you got to have a big shelf to put that baby up there for sure. But thank you, Jan, for being here. Also, we've got three great coaches. Pat Jones, who remembered Oklahoma State, was an unbelievable coach with Barry Sanders and Thurman Thomas, and also coached with Coach Broyles in the 70s. He's here. Doug Dickey is here, who used to be the head coach at Tennessee and as head log cabin. Got some amazing jewelry that we do for both our finalists and our finalist spouses. We thank Bill and Sherry Jones. And a few other names real quick. 103.7 The Buzz. These guys have done about 25 interviews on all of our shows. 14 straight hours of programming, thanks to Steve Johnson. Do you want to thank AMSCO, DPI, Airways Freight, our Touchdown Club Volunteer Army, Debbie Wyman, Wes Sutton, Dwayne Duncan, RJ Hawk, Matt Johnson, Doug Jones, and Greg Flesher. And finally, all the hosts that have given up the last 48 hours to take care of our coaches. So let's give a big round of applause to all of our amazing sponsors and volunteers. Couldn't do it without them. Also want to mention this trophy. I'm so proud of this. This is, of course, Frank Broyles and Wilson Matthews. And the artist who designed this and who sculpted this is here, Jan Woods. Jan, would you please stand and wave to everybody? Jan Woods done a great job. Really proud of this trophy. Every winner gets one of these. It's $5,000 to reproduce every year, weighs about 70 pounds. And Tony Elliott knows, listen, you got to have a big shelf to put that baby up there for sure. But thank you, Jan, for being here. Also, we've got three great coaches. Pat Jones, who remembered Oklahoma State, was an unbelievable coach with Barry Sanders and Thurman Thomas, and also coached with Coach Broyles in the 70s. He's here. Doug Dickey is here, who used to be the head coach at Tennessee and as head coach at Florida. He coached with Coach Broyles back in the 60s and even played under Coach Broyles at Florida in the 50s. And, of course, Houston Nutt, who's getting ready to go into Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame, the last player to ever be recruited by Frank Broyles. And he also obviously was a coach under Frank. These three guys spent time with our coaches today, sharing with them about Frank Broyles. And it was great. And please stand. Let's give them a round of applause for what they did today. Houston, Pat, and Doug Dickey. A couple other special guests. This is the first time we've had the Arkansas athletic director in attendance of the Broyles Award since Coach Broyles was here. And so, and it was actually a year ago today that Hunter Yurachek was named the athletic director at Arkansas. So please welcome Hunter Yurachek out here in the audience. So there you go, Hunter. Good to see you. And another award that I'm really proud to be associated with and help get started a few years back is the Burlsworth Trophy. And we've got Marty and Vicki Burlsworth here, and they had an unbelievable day yesterday. Jeff Scott's player, Hunter Renfro, won the Burlsworth Trophy. So it's been a great weekend already for you, a couple days. Welcome Marty and Vicki Burlsworth for the Burlsworth Trophy. All right, so what we're going to do now, so let's just kick up some music for a little bit. I'm going to come back up here shortly, and we're going to restart this thing all over again. I can't tell you how proud we are to have you here. Betsy, I know Coach Broyles would be very pleased. We'll have Betsy and Jacob come up here in just a few minutes during the show. But enjoy the rest of your lunch, and we'll get started right around 12 o'clock. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention? All right, we're about a minute away. Let me tell you the way this is going to work. We will actually see the live feed at the beginning. It's about a minute intro. It will be introducing all of our coaches. Coaches, when that video introduces you, go ahead and stand. So when the video is done, Steve Sullivan will say, please welcome our finalists, 2018 finalists. And if you don't mind, to make a great impression on the TV audience across the state, let's give a standing ovation. Let's be real loud and raucous in here if you don't mind. So matter of fact, this may be the beginning of it. And let's take it away. Here we go.
Live from the beautiful Marriott Hotel in downtown Little Rock, the Frank and Barbara Broyles Foundation, along with Riceland Foods, presents the 23rd Annual Broyles Award, honoring the top assistant coaches in college football, featuring our finalists: Alabama Offensive Coordinator Michael Luxley, Army Defensive Coordinator Jay Bateman, Clemson Co-Offense Coordinator Jeff Scott, Mississippi State Defensive Coordinator Bob Shoup, and Notre Dame Offensive Coordinator Chip Long.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your 2018 Broyles Award finalists.
What a great ovation. Welcome to the 2018 Broyles Award presented by Riceland Foods, benefiting the Frank and Barbara Broyles Foundation. My name is David Basil. Started this award back in 1996, and I'm so proud that we are in year 23 here in Central Arkansas. This is being broadcast all across the state on KATV here in Central Arkansas, KAIT in Northeast Arkansas, and KNWA up in Northwest Arkansas. It's going to be a great day. If you have not had a chance, if you're joining us on TV or online, if you're here today in the banquet room and you haven't been to the Broyles Awards, you're in for a great treat. This is a great day of honoring the best, the top, the greatest assistant coaches in America are right here. The center, the universe of college football is right here, because the heartbeat, as Coach Broyles always knew, was about the assistant. And what's nice about today is we get a chance to honor these guys and their wives. We get a chance to honor the legacy of Coach Broyles, and also raise money and awareness of the Broyles Foundation and their mission, which is supporting caregivers of Alzheimer's patients. So going to be a great day. We couldn't do it without great sponsors, and we're so proud to have Riceland Foods as our presenting sponsor. They're not only national, they are internationally known, the biggest in the world, the biggest in the United States, and we're so proud to have Riceland branded with the Broyles Award. At this time, I want to bring up the Vice President of Marketing and Strategy for Riceland, Mr. Ben Noble. Ben?
Thank you, David. And last night we had a great intimate dinner with a lot of the nominees, and we had last year's winner, Coach Elliott, here from Clemson, and he stressed a key point that was a common theme of the evening. It was that football and coaching equals family, and family is what Riceland Foods is all about. Our family farmers have been growing sustainable and nutritious food for nearly 100 years, and just like football, we have seasons. We've got planting season, growing season, and harvest season. So on behalf of Riceland Foods and our over 5,000 family farmers, we're proud to be a part of the Broyles Award that honors these men that turn young boys into true men. Thank you.
You know, one of the things I've been trying to figure out is that coaches, because Riceland They're in Stuttgart, some of the best duck hunting in the world. I just don't know how we can get you, because you're doing a bowl practice. I don't know, but we're working on that to somehow get you guys all back to do a little duck hunting over in Stuttgart. But thank you, Ben, and thank you, Riceland. It's been my pleasure to get a chance to grow real close with the Broyles family. It's so nice to have Betsy, Coach Broyles' daughter. She's not only involved with the Broyles Award, she's involved heavily with the Broyles Foundation, having been a co-founder of that with her dad. And then Molly Arnold, who's been involved with the Broyles Award for the last 2 years and raised the bar for us. And then this year, Molly's brother Jacob, the grandson of Frank Broyles, has been all in Broyles Award. He was about the same age I was when I started this thing. I was 32, he's 29. And he's the future of this award. And so I'm excited about it, and he's excited about it. He reminds me of Coach Broyles. I can hear Coach Broyles saying, "Oh, David, Jacob is going to make this award better. He's going to make it better." I can hear him saying that. So at this time, I want to welcome Betsy Arnold and Jacob Arnold. Please come on up, Betsy and Jacob.
Thank you, David. We wanted to personally thank each and every one of you for coming today, and it's going to be such a wonderful day. Look at this group of coaches right here, the future of college football, and great Tony Elliott, who won last year. So we just are thrilled to have them in our new family, the Broyles Award family. So speaking of family, I want to introduce mine. We've got a lot here today. So would all the Broyles family stand up, please? I've got 3 of my brothers are here, and Gwen, Dad's wife, and all the grandkids. So, and I'd like our board members to stand up too. We've got a few board members here. So anyway, thank you. I'm going to turn over to my son, Jake.
What a privilege it is for us to be here with you today to represent the Broyles family. We love you guys. And to represent the Broyles Foundation, where we support Alzheimer's caregivers. If you know anyone who's been affected by Alzheimer's or any other form of dementia, we encourage you to please reach out to us. My mother, alongside my grandfather, wrote a playbook for caregivers. It's broken down into 4 quarters, and it helps people feel prepared during this incredibly challenging season of their lives. Now, we are all here today to celebrate outstanding college football coaches, and we love you guys too. By virtue of that, by attending today, by sponsoring the event, by watching on television or watching through a live stream, you're all supporting this mission. Every one of you are helping Alzheimer's caregivers today, and we hope that you're as proud of that as we are. So thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of our heart, and we'll get back to the show. Thank you.
See, I'm telling you, I'm on borrowed time. Now listen, Jay's going to go, "Okay, Basil, I got this now. See you later. Go off and retire somewhere." But really excited to have that. This is really one of the most subjective awards in college football. The Broyles Award Trophy we just mentioned is a great college football award, the Heisman. But this is so hard to decide, first of all, who gets here. It's very difficult. So we have we have 18 former Hall of Fame coaches on a committee. We have 15 Football Writers of America writers on this committee. So we have 33. By the way, Wally Hall is one of our committee members. It's very difficult because every one of these guys have had a season good enough to win this thing. So that's why I said just to get here is really remarkable, just to be a finalist. And you saw all the coaches walking down the Walk of Honor here. Just to be a Broyles Award finalist, much less if you're not a winner, is a strong accomplishment. I will say this in advance. This is one of the closest votes we've had in a long time. It really is one of the closest votes we've ever had. And I've said I wish we could do 5 of these, but we can't. But we're just excited the fact that we have 5 outstanding coaches. But in keeping with our tradition, we've always brought back the previous year's winner. And it's time to hear from our 2017 Broyles Award winner. He's not only an outstanding coach, he's a class act. If you haven't read the story about Tony Elliott, Google him. It's a remarkable story. The great thing about Tony, he played football at Clemson, just like Jeff did. He had a 3.5 in engineering. I'm just throwing out there, I don't know if you guys have heard or not, but there's a school in Georgia, I believe it's Georgia Tech, which is an engineering school, that has a position open for head coach. Just saying. I'm just saying. Sounds like a real good fit to me. Please welcome. Listen, I don't want to get him in trouble, but I just had to say that he's as class act as there is. And Tony, it's great to have you back again. Tony Elliott, everybody.
As if there's not already enough pressure. I appreciate that, David, for putting some more pressure on me. But I'm extremely honored and privileged to be back. I want to thank the Broyles family once again for allowing me this opportunity to bring my wife back and spend time with you guys. And as we've spent some time together, you know how much I appreciate the fact that my name is being attached to your father's name and your family's name and the legacy, and it gives me great honor to have my name associated with the Broyles family. I got to start here by thanking the real winner from last year and my biggest supporter, my biggest critic of third down calls, red zone calls, my beautiful wife, Tamika Elliott. I'm extremely blessed to work at what I believe is the best university in the country and also the best football program, and it starts with the great leadership that we have at Clemson University. So I'd be remiss if I didn't say thank you to Jim Clements, our president, Dan Radakovich, our athletic director, and also our head coach, Dabo Sweeney, to all of our staff and players. I appreciate you guys as well. You know, this year is very, very special. Ben alluded to it, talking about family. Jeff's gonna have an opportunity, and I want to make sure that I don't go too long, so I give all these guys an opportunity to share from the heart. But to be here and have this opportunity to share in this moment with him, and obviously, you know, we're co-coordinators, but man, our relationship goes farther back to that one time. I think we sunk a jet ski somewhere in a lake near Clemson. Appreciate you for still loving me after that, Coach Scott. But this is just a great privilege to have this opportunity and what I was able to experience last year, and now to have a dear friend, more than a dear friend, a guy that's like a brother to me, to be here with you today, and Miss Sarah, Miss Darrell, and Coach Scott. I appreciate your guys' relationship in the way that we become a family. Briefly, what I want to talk about when I think about Coach Broyles, the first thing that comes to mind is a verse from the good book, and it's in the book of Luke, and it talks about, from everyone who is given much, much is demanded, and to those who much is entrusted, even more will be required. And I know that Coach Broyles lived a life where he demanded, you know, excellence in everything that he did from everyone that was around him, but because of that, he gave even more of himself, because he knew that he had that entrusted to him to develop those underneath him. And so that's the legacy that I take away from every time I come here and be around the family, just the humility and the way that you guys carry yourself. The last thing I want to say is to these finalists, you know, congrats to all you guys. You know, for me, I know it was a life-changing experience last year, and hopefully you guys being here will experience that as well. And I know that each one of you guys is running your race to win. Unfortunately, there's only one first prize. But what I will tell you guys is, regardless of who wins today, we're all winners. And the reason that we're all winners is because we get the great privilege to be called coach. Thank you.
One of the great things that I told this story last night. Houston got tickled with it, so I'll share it real quick. It's great having the wives here, and it's a tradition that every coach thanks his wife. And I'll never forget. I tell this story I think every year, but it's so much fun. It's that I was doing this with borrowed money, this award back in '96, and so it was really tough for me to even get this thing done. And so first coach I called, I said, Coach Andrews, congratulations, you're a Broyles Award finalist. He said, oh, David, I'm so excited. I can't wait to get to Little Rock. Oh, can I bring my wife? I really want her there. And so I was like, okay, Coach, it's okay. We'll do that. And then I called the second one. He did the same thing. I got to have my wife. Will you mind can she come too? So it went on, third call, and finally I panicked. And I called Coach Broyles. I thought, Lord, I'm not going to be able to afford to do this thing. And I wanted Coach Broyles to go, yeah, David, we just need to bring the coaches. And I called him, and he said, oh, David. He said, if they want to bring their wives, that means it's something special to them. That's good news, David. That's good news. And so, all right, Coach, we'll figure out a way to do it. 23 years later, that's really the neat thing about this award. So let's give a round of applause for all of our amazing spouses here today. All right, it's time to meet our 5 finalists. It's great that we have back a guy who was an All-American at Pitt, All-Pro for the Washington Redskins, won Super Bowls, one of the great offensive linemen of all time, College Football Hall of Fame, and he loves coming to the Broyles Award. Doesn't charge a penny. He does it because he respects Coach Broyles and what Coach Broyles stood for in the game, and he's a class act too. And we're getting used to having you here. We may just get you to get a house here too. But the one and only Mark May. Please welcome Mark, everybody.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you. Second of all, I'd like to say it's an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to come back to Little Rock and be involved in such a distinguished award as the Broyles Award. I'd like to thank Molly, Jacob, Betsy, and David for giving me the opportunity to come back. And I want to extend my congratulations to all these wonderful coaches, because they wouldn't be here unless they were outstanding coaches in what they've been able to do throughout their career and this season. First of all, let's get to it. Our first finalist is Army defensive coordinator Jay Bateman. Jay's a 20-year veteran of coaching. He's been at Army since 2014, and this year and every year they've been outstanding on defense, but this year they've been at the pinnacle of what he's been able to accomplish there. If you look at what Army's been able to do, more with less. They don't get 5-star students. They don't get 5-star players. They don't get a $100 million facility, but they're able to go out and compete with the big boys each and every week. And the other thing is we're fortunate to have him here, and this is the reason why. This is the first time in Army's history that they have an opportunity to go back-to-back 10-win seasons. Think about all the great seasons Army's had, and they've got an opportunity to do it this year, and the reason why is their defense and Jay Bateman. And the other thing is, we're glad to have him here because he still has a game left in the regular season. He's got Navy on Saturday. And before we get to the video, Coach, go Army, beat Navy. Let's get to that video.
Jay Bateman, defensive coordinator, Army.
So listen, right, everything matters, right? Every play matters.
Only one defense held the highest scoring offense in the country under 30 points this season. It took an Oklahoma offense that is averaging a whopping 50 points a game overtime to score just 28 points against Jay Bateman's Army defense.
About right there, at that point right there, he's not cutting it back.
Bateman's Black Knight defense has been at its best on the most critical down. They are third in the country in third down defense. They are 11th in scoring defense. 6 of their 11 opponents failed to score more than 14 points. Bateman's D is also allowing only 106 yards a game on the ground. And these Black Knights get after the quarterback. Bateman has coached 5 players that rank in the top 5 in program history in sacks.
When you cure cancer, you'll spend a lot of your millions on the stock market.
At Army, it's all about team. And Army is 26-9 over the last 3 seasons, and they are riding a 4-game winning streak against other service academies. This afternoon, a first for a program on the rise. Army has its first Broyles Award finalist, Jay Bateman.
Yeah, I grew up in Richmond, Virginia, a huge Redskins fan. So for Mark May to introduce me is pretty cool. I want to thank the Broyles and Arnold family for having me. I think anytime as an assistant football coach, you get associated with Frank Broyles. I think that's really humbling. And I had my CBS teleconference on Monday with Gary Danielson and the crew for the Army-Navy game, and Coach Shoup and I were talking. Gary Danielson likes to ask you questions and give you the answer. And so Gary Danielson said, congratulations on the Broyles Award, and then proceeded to talk for 10 minutes about Coach Broyles. And it was awesome. And I could just tell, the respect he had. And I mean, there's a guy who knows a lot about college football, and that was really great. I want to thank my wife, Heather, my best recruit ever. She's way better looking than me. I'm a pretty good recruiter. You can tell by that. I remember when I first started recruiting, and I was at University of Richmond, and they said, you go down to Atlanta. So I drove down from Richmond to Atlanta, and I stayed in a hotel, and for one of those big hotels in downtown Atlanta. I'd never really been in a hotel that big, and you walk in, and the bellman says, "What floor are you on?" So I said, "I don't know, 15 or whatever it was." So he held the door close button in the 15, and it goes all the way up. And I think when coaches' wives get to heaven, that angel's there waiting for them, man. They got that door closed in that 15, but they're going all the way up, because if they got to deal with us and our jobs and what we got to do, they get to skip a few lines when it gets to that point. I want to thank our administration, Boo Corrigan, our athletic director. I told him, I said, Coach, Boo, I don't know if I can go to this. We got Navy on Saturday. He's like, you're going. I'll figure it out. I want to thank Jenna McLaughlin, one of our assistant ADs. She drew the short straw. She had to come with me. There's a few other guys, they didn't want to get up that early. And I think the 60th superintendent of the United States Military Academy, General Darrell Williams, who's an unbelievable man. Every time you talk to him, I was talking to him on Saturday at a recruit dinner, and he tells me, yeah, I was Bill Clinton's aide. I had the nuclear football. And you're like, wow, that's like the 50th most cool, He stared down Putin. He had a sack against Pittsburgh when he played. He's an Army football brother. So, he sent me a note today. So, you can hear from Alabama and Notre Dame and Mississippi State, Clemson. They got parade All-Americans all over the place. I got about 50 guys that are going to march in a parade in 4 days. So, I stole that line from Jeff Monken, our head coach, who is the best. And I told him I wasn't going to come. He's like, you're going. I don't want to hear anything more about it. He's a great family man. He's the best culture builder I've ever been around. And, you know, when we're able to go out and play teams like Oklahoma close and win games, you know, Coach Shoup coached at West Point a few years ago. And we were talking about before the game, every time we go play a team, the opposing coaches, they give you the, man, you guys do a great job. Boy, you guys, your kids really play hard, which is coach speak for, man, you got a bunch of bad players. And so I just laugh because I know every week that I got the toughest group, and I know every week that I got the smartest group. And I think when you have that, you got a chance every week. And you know, we got to West Point. They hadn't beat Navy in 12 years. Been to one bowl in 20 years, and Coach Monken kind of convinced me to come. Then it was our job to go out and convince some kids to come. And, you know, it's the #1 public university in the world. And I think when you get an award like this, when you're honored like this and really humbled, I think ultimately who you need to thank is your players, because they're the guys that do it. I just call a blitz every once in a while. So thanks so much for having me. It's awesome. 4 days from now, we're going to beat Navy for the 3rd time in a row. And you know, it's a great place to coach, great kids to coach, and I'm really humbled and honored. Thank you.
Our next finalist is Alabama offensive coordinator Michael Locksley. Under Coach Locksley, the Alabama offense has reached new heights that they've never seen before. Their passing game, what they've been able to do with Tua Tagovailoa, everybody's heard about that, and they're defending national champions. But what was really impressive to me this season is in the SEC championship game when they lost their starting quarterback. But guess what? Their backup quarterback was more prepared than any backup I've seen come back in, and he was a previous starter in Jalen Hurts. He knew the offense, he was prepared, and he's become a much better passer in this system. So, with that being said, here's more on Coach Mike Locksley.
Michael Locksley, offensive coordinator, Alabama.
In one season at Alabama, Michael Locksley turned what was a highly effective run-first offense into a freakish quick-strike unit, which has been the most productive offense in the history of this storied program. This season, Alabama set records in both passing yards and scoring. Bama broke the 60-point barrier twice and scored 50 or more in 8 games. And they scored faster than any offense in Bama history. Their average scoring drive lasted 5 plays and took less than 3 minutes to complete. A year ago, Alabama was 91st in passing offense. Under Michael Locksley's direction, the Bama offense is 7th in passing yards. And keep in mind, Bama's first-year starting quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, played the equivalent of only 8 games this season. And yes, they still run the ball well, 37th in the country with 202 yards a game. And what happened when Bama's record-setting quarterback went down in the SEC championship game? Well, it was just next man up for Michael Locksley's Tide offense. Today, Michael Locksley gets to add one impressive note to an already way impressive 2018 resume. Michael Locksley is a Broyles Award finalist.
What a blessing it is to be up here and honored with these tremendous coaches. And I want to, first of all, I want to thank the Broyles family and foundation, Jeff, David, Betsy, Jacob, and Molly for a great time. Secondly, I want to thank my beautiful wife, Kia, the strongest coach that I know. Kia and I suffered a tragedy about a year and a half ago, losing our son, Miko. And it's been such a tremendous, tremendous time fighting through it. And the football community, the coaching community stood in the gap with us. And it just shows you what the great game of football has to offer. So, Kia, thank you for being so strong and giving me the strength to continue to go out every day to do what you allow me to do. Working at the University of Alabama, what a tremendous opportunity. You know, 2 years ago for me to be up here being possibly honored as the Assistant Football Coach of the Year or the Broyles Award. You know, 2 years ago I was in the Nick Saban Witness Protection Program. I was out of a job. I just left the University of Maryland as the offensive coordinator. Was kind of in between what I wanted to do. And then I decided that, you know what, I know Lane Kiffin went there. I know Steve Sarkisian, a bunch of coaches who have been head coaches went behind the curtains of the Alabama storied football program. And boy, what an honor and how great it's been for me in my career to be able to rehabilitate it. You know, I have a unique situation is that I'm a fired head coach. So what I learned by getting fired is how to be a really good assistant coach to try to help those head coaches from getting fired. So that's helped me and prepared me to come up here today. To be nominated for an award that is associated with the Broyles family is a tremendous honor. I can tell you the big reason I got into coaching. You know, I grew up in the tough part of Washington, D.C. I didn't have a dad that was active in my life, and those assistant coaches and head coaches at the Boys and Girls Club, my high school, my college coaches, they stood right in the gap and became father figures to me. So I knew once I wasn't able to play at the next level that I wanted to be just like those guys that would drive me home from practice while my mom worked, pick me up from school, buy me shoes or cleats because we couldn't afford it. And all those things are what has molded me today, and especially all the former head coaches or all the head coaches, the great ones that I've had an opportunity to work with. You know, Coach Saban has a saying that every thank you comes with an IOU. And for all the people that played a part in me getting to where I am today, I owe you. I'm so thankful. What a blessing it is to be here today. And thanks a lot, Kia, for standing in that gap. God bless you guys. Thanks a lot.
Our next finalist is Clemson co-offensive coordinator, wide receiver coach Jeff Scott. This is the 23rd year of the Broyles Award, and it's never been a time where there's been 3 consecutive times that a school has sent their coordinator or coach to the Broyles Award as a finalist. Clemson is that university. Jeff Scott's been a terrific coach at wide receiver, as a wide receiver coach. And not only that, if you look at the blanket across the NFL, there's nothing but a lot of Clemson wide receivers out there. But what's really impressive this season is there's a change at quarterback at Clemson to a true freshman and Trevor Lawrence. And what happens is you've got timing routes. You've got to make sure that you're on the same page with that quarterback. Clemson's offense did not miss a beat this season, and that's because of their wide receiver coach, Jeff Scott. Not only that, coaching DNA runs in his bloodline. His dad, Brad Scott, an assistant coach for many years and also the head coach of South Carolina. But here's more on co-coordinator Jeff Scott.
Jeff Scott, co-offensive coordinator, Clemson.
Don't try to avoid conflict. Go beat it at the line.
In his time at Clemson, no coach in the country has recruited and developed NFL-ready receivers better than Jeff Scott. NFL stars DeAndre Hopkins and Sammy Watkins are 2 of a nation-high 8 Clemson receivers who have been drafted since 2013. And who better to mentor Clemson's incredible walk-on receiver and Broyles Award winner Hunter Renfrow than another guy who walked on at Clemson, Jeff Scott. He's a big reason that people now call Clemson Receiver U. He is the co-coordinator for a Clemson offense that does everything well. They are 5th nationally in scoring offense, 11th in red zone offense, a top 30 offense in every stat. And Clemson's 2018 offense is the most balanced in Clemson history. 260 yards a game on the ground, 270 through the air, added up, and you have the 5th most productive offense in all of college football. Clemson has won big with Jeff Scott on the staff. Top 25 finishes in 8 of his 9 years as a full-time assistant, and a record 4 straight ACC titles. Today, the Broyles Award honors a coach who isn't afraid to think outside the box. Jeff Scott is a Broyles Award finalist.
Thank you. So, David, the way I understand it, you told each of us that we had 5 minutes to talk. And so that means Tony had 5 minutes. I had 5 minutes. That means Clemson gets 10 minutes. And I believe by my watch, Tony only used 3 minutes. So I'm going to use his other 2 if that's okay. This is really a dream come true for me. You know, ever since I was a kid, I knew I wanted to be a college football coach. You know, I grew up, really feel like I was born into college football with my father being a longtime assistant coach at Florida State under Coach Bobby Bowden from 1983 to 93. And Coach Bowden was very gracious and always allowed the coaches' kids and coaches' families to be involved in the program. And, you know, I have many great memories of being on the practice fields there at Florida State, and being in the locker room and being on those sidelines. And, you know, I loved it whenever I was in elementary school on Fridays. My dad would pick me up early, and I would go carooting with my dad. And that's what I'd say. I'm going carooting with my father and just getting in that car and riding down to Jacksonville. And I remember one time I was about 7 years old, and he stopped off at a store and bought me a full pirate costume. And we were on the way to see a prospect who played for the Appling County Pirates. And so he dressed me up. I'm not even sure if that was legal. I hope I didn't get him in trouble there. But, you know, some of my best memories, I can remember sitting in the locker room at Florida State, and I was actually sitting in Charlie Ward's locker, and he's right in front of me on a stool, and here comes Coach Bobby Bowden walking in and talking to the team before they were getting ready to play Miami. And I can remember that moment, being 11 years old, saying, that's what I want to do. And so when I tell you that this is a dream come true for me, I really mean it. And I want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, for without him directing my path, I definitely would not be here today. I want to thank the Broyles family and Broyles Foundation, Betsy, Molly, and Jacob. I mean, some of the most humble and gracious people that I've ever met, and you've already made us feel like family. Also want to thank David, Jeff, and Greg for all the work you do for this award. It is first class and top notch. I want to start by recognizing my wife, Sarah. And she's an amazing wife and my best friend, and also an incredible mother to our 3-year-old daughter, Savannah. Also want to recognize my parents who are here, Brad and Daryl Scott. Whenever I found out that I was a finalist, that was one of the first questions I had was if I could bring my parents. And my mom has been there every step of the way, not only being a coach's wife, but also being a mother of a coach. I think there's definitely a special place in heaven for her. And then, you know, my dad has been my role model since I've been a little boy, and definitely the primary reason that I got into coaching. And I've learned a lot from him through all the years. And I would say the number one lesson that I learned watching the ups and downs of his career is to always keep your priorities in order no matter what: faith, family, and football. People ask me all the time, what makes Clemson so special? And I've been fortunate. I went to school there and now been on staff there for 10 years. And there's no doubt it's all about the people. And it really starts at the top. And our school president, Jim Clements, is incredible. He's one of the best recruiters that I've ever been around. I think he reminds me, I think he's 24-2 as a recruiter for prospects that we've brought up to his office to see him. And our director of athletics, Dan Radakovich, is one of the best in the country, and it's amazing what he's done with our athletic program there at Clemson. And then our head coach, Dabo Swinney. Coach Swinney is one of the most humble and genuine people that I've ever been around. And I've been fortunate that, you know, I was really with Coach at the very beginning. In 2008, I came back to Clemson as a graduate assistant coach, and Coach Swinney's the wide receivers coach. Clemson was actually picked to win the ACC preseason, so I was all excited. Coach Swinney ran our football camps. And he was the director of our football camps. I'd been around those camps my entire life, so he asked me, since I was a GA now on staff, if I would kind of take a role and help him with that. So I did that, and late July of that year, he gave me a call and just said, Jeff, I just want to thank you for doing a great job helping me with the camps. You're going to be a great coach, and one day when I become a head coach, you're going to be one of the first people that I hire. And I said, that's nice, thank you. I told my wife, I said, hey, Coach Swinney, young coach, probably be a coordinator in a couple years, head coach a couple years after that. You know, it's nice to have something like that. 3 months later, in October of that year, he's named interim head coach. And he called me into his office and said, all right, here it is. I told you it was coming, just a little bit quicker. And he moved me from GA to wide receivers coach. And he told me, even though the odds might not be great for him to get the job, that if he did, he was going to keep me on as the wide receivers coach. So I was all excited because I knew, being around this profession, just how difficult it is to kind of get that shot. So I know this is my shot. So I went home that night and I was telling Sarah all about it. And I'll never forget, right before we went to bed, it's about midnight, right across the ESPN ticker, it says, Clemson wide receivers coach Dabo Swinney named interim head coach today. And then it went on to say 0 of the last 29 mid-season interim head coaches went on to be named permanent head coach. So I kind of looked at Sarah and I said, 1 out of 30 ain't bad, you know. So we went on and won 4 of the next 6 games, and he was named Terry Don Phillips, an Arkansas connection, is the one that really believed in Coach Sweeney and named him full-time head coach. And, you know, the rest is history. Many of you may remember seeing Coach Sweeney get tackled after the national championship game in 2017 after Hunter Renfrow caught the game-winning touchdown. Well, I was the guy that tackled Coach Sweeney right there on national TV. And, you know, people were asking me afterwards, you know, what were you thinking during that moment, you know, when you were tackling Coach Sweeney? And I said, to be honest, everything just over the last 8 years, kind of going from that 0-29, you know, kind of being a tryout coach to now being in that moment. And by the way, how many professions can you tackle your boss on the job? I mean, there's not many, and then get a raise the next week, right? So this coaching thing's pretty good. No, but what I admire about Coach Sweeney the most is he's the same person today as he was 10 years ago when he was an assistant coach. And his genuine love and appreciation for his players and coaches and community is incredible. And his coaching model is really very simple. He wants to serve his players' heart and not their talent. And, you know, I gotta thank our players. We have some obviously very talented players. There's no doubt about it. But some of the most unbelievable young men that I've ever been around. The leaders, the way that they lead, the way that they represent themselves in our university is something that we're all very proud of. We have a great staff at Clemson. I'm happy that you've been able to meet a couple of them the last couple of years. Coach Venables, you know, and his defensive staff are some of the best in the country. And then on our offensive staff, and Tony already talked about it, you know, Tony and I were stretch partners at Clemson whenever we were players. That was back when you actually stretched with a partner. Now everything's individual stretches. But if somebody would have come up to us at that moment while we were stretching one day and say, hey, boys, in about 12 years, y'all are going to be running this offense at Clemson. Get ready. I don't think we would have ever believed it. But Tony's one of the best, young, and brightest coaches in college football. And I'm a better man, husband, father, and football coach for being around him every day the last 8 years. The number one question that Tony and I get everywhere we go, you know, and actually Coach Shoup asked me right before we walked out of here, is how does this co-coordinating thing work? That's what everybody wants to know. You know, I coach the wide receivers. Tony coaches the running backs. Everybody wants to know, does Jeff call the passing plays and Tony call the running plays? Does Jeff call the first and second down plays and Tony call the third down plays? Does Jeff call the open field? Does Tony call the red zone? And we've gotten that question a lot over the last 4 years, and I felt that today may be the best time just to go ahead and, is it all right if I tell everybody? Okay. So I call all the good plays that work, and Tony calls the rest of them. So now that he has his trophy, I think I can go ahead and get that out of the way. But we have a lot of fun. I mean, Tony's a brother to me, and we have a lot of fun at Clemson. You know, we have some of the best offensive players and offensive staff in the country. Coach Robbie Caldwell has been around for a long time. Coach Sweeney puts him in the room to babysit Tony and I because we're so young. But Coach Caldwell does a great job coaching our offensive line. Danny Pearman's our tight ends coach, and Brandon Streeter. You know, I feel really bad for him since he's been there. He's had Deshaun Watson, Kelly Bryant, and now Trevor Lawrence. So not a bad three to start your career at Clemson, but he does a great job with our quarterbacks. And then really the secret to the madness is our young coaches, our graduate assistant, our analyst coaches that are kind of behind the scenes, and they call themselves the replacement staff. So I'm not sure if that's a good thing for Tony and I. We always get a little bit nervous. They're ready to take our seat, but they do an excellent job giving us all the work. Cam Aiken, Thomas Austin, Tyler Grisham, Xavier Dye, Kyle Richardson, Dwayne McClain, Bill Spires, J.P. Lossman, Maverick Morris, Andrew Shipman, Sal Conti, Tanner Pearman, J.T. Bandy. And, you know, and as I close, you know, I just, you know, being here the past 2 days, the wonderful dinner that we had last night with the Broyles family and the breakfast this morning with Coach Dickey, Coach Jones, and Coach Nutt, it's very obvious that Coach Broyles left a lasting legacy because of the impact that he had on so many people, his family, his players, his coaches, the community, and all of college football. And his impact is still being felt today, and it will for many years to come. You know, the late Billy Graham once said, a coach will impact more people in 1 year than the average person will in a lifetime. And in my opinion, 20 or 30 years from now, it won't matter if we taught our players how to run a slant route or how to play press man coverage or how to throw a football. But if we impacted them, their life in a positive way as their coach, then we will all be winners. Thank you.
Our next Broyles Award finalist is defensive coordinator Bob Shoop from Mississippi State. He's got the most experience of any of the coaches up here, 29 years of coaching experience. In 14 of those years, he had to make a change in where he reside. Here's the key. When you take a change of a coach that goes from one school to another school to another school, you gain experience. And the experience that he's gotten over the years has definitely created what he is today, an outstanding defensive coordinator. If you look at the last 5 games at Mississippi State this year, 4 of those 5 games, the total points they gave up were 25 points. Scoring on his defense was like throwing popcorn at a battleship. He's gotten it done wherever he's been. And here's the other key. He's a Yale graduate. And I'll guarantee you one thing. He's got to be the only coordinator in the Power 5 that's an Ivy League educated coordinator. Here's more on Coach Bob Shoop.
Bob Shoop, defensive coordinator, Mississippi State.
Over-communicate, execute. Playoff focus, playoff communication.
This season, Bob Shoop took a good Bulldog defense and made it one of the country's best. These dogs led the nation in the most important stat, scoring defense. Opponents scored an average of only 13.5 points a game. They also allowed only 12 touchdowns in 12 games. And no defense in the country defended the pass better than Shoop's Bulldogs. They allowed only 5 touchdown passes. They were also among the nation's best against the run. They surrendered just 114 yards a game and 3.3 yards a carry. Shoop's Bulldog D also limited an Alabama offense that was cranking out 49 points and 538 yards a game to 24 points and 305 yards. 29 years of college coaching experience, 15 years as defensive coordinator, and 1 new title for one of the nation's top defensive minds. Bob Shoop is a Broyles Award finalist.
I just want to make sure I say thank you so much to the Broyles family and the Broyles Foundation, Betsy, Molly, and Jacob, and everybody involved with this award. I'm so honored to be here, and you've really made us feel like part of your family. Thank you so much. I'd like to congratulate the other finalists, and I'd like to wish all of you luck in the finish of your regular season and your postseason endeavors. And before I really get started, there's 2 people that aren't here that I'd like to acknowledge in kind of a random turn. In the NBA, every year they give out the MVP award at the end of the year. Sometimes it was Steph Curry or Westbrook, or it could be this guy or that guy. But we all know that LeBron James is the best player in the NBA. He should win the award every single year. Would we agree with that? Well, there's a guy here today, and Mark just said it out. My journey to get here is a little bit different than some other people. I'm a Yale graduate, class of 1988, where I graduated with a degree in economics. So what does a Yale graduate with a degree in economics choose to pursue as a career? Certainly coaching. And the person who impacted me the most in my career, going into my senior year, we hired a new defensive coordinator at Yale, a guy named Don Brown. And Don Brown became a mentor to me. He became a role model to me. He was the coolest guy I ever met. And when I met that guy, I said, man, I want to be just like him. And to me, Don Brown could win this award every year. He's the best coach and one of the best men I've ever been around in this profession. So I just want to acknowledge him because I know the Broyles family knows him. He's been a nominee and a finalist here. The other person, Jacob, shared with me a story yesterday. You all got to start somewhere. Jeff just shared his start. I know most of these guys' background. I know some of these guys personally. But in 1991, I was a graduate. In 1990, I was a graduate assistant coach at University of Virginia. And, graduate assistant coaches get to know each other, and they'll play little tricks on each other. And we didn't have cell phones back then. We didn't have this. We didn't have that. And one of the other GAs left a note in my little cubby in the office saying, return Barry Gallup's call. And he gave me a number. And Barry Gallup had just got the head coaching job at Northeastern University in Boston. And I was Joe Cool. I showed it off to everybody in the thing. And I returned Coach Gallup's call. And Coach Gallup had never actually called me. He was gracious about it, talked to me for 5 or 10 minutes, and somehow I talked my way into an interview with him. And I took a job from an offensive GA to a defensive backfield coach at Northeastern University and was with him for 3 years. Yesterday, he reached out to Jacob and asked how he could watch this event online, a person that I hadn't worked with in over 25 years. a guy who taught me how to be a teacher, a leader, a role model, a guy who taught me about family, a guy who does things the right way. He's as special a human being as I've ever been around, and I just wanted to acknowledge that, because if Coach Gallup's watching, I wanted to make sure I acknowledged him and thanked him for the opportunity that he provided me. I always say this, coaching's what I do, it's not who I am. I think it's important that we always acknowledge that. Don't let coaching, one game, one moment define who you are. Having said that, I want to make sure I'm a husband, I'm a father. Those are the things that are really, really important to me. And I want to acknowledge and thank my best friend and my wife. We'll celebrate our 25th, Mara, we'll celebrate our 25th wedding anniversary this February. And I love her very much, and she's my very best friend. She's been there through thick and thin, through good times and bad, and sickness and health. And in this profession, there's a lot of all those things. I also want to acknowledge my two boys, Tyler, who's a senior at Penn State, and his favorite player is Hunter Renfro, as I told you, and Jay, who's a sophomore at Tennessee. They're both walk-on wide receivers in those programs, and they're my best friends in the world. And family means, I've learned through this profession, family is the most important thing. We always talk about unconditional love and caring for one another, and it's carried over into my professional life as well. 2018 was really kind of a magical season for us at Mississippi State. We had a record-setting defense. I always say this, there's good defenses, there's great defenses, but at the end of the day, there's going to be only one championship defense. And we definitely had a championship caliber defense. To stand before you as a Coach of the Year nominee certainly is a great honor, but it takes a village, and I acknowledge that. I mean, anybody who's standing before you, it's the result of the people that you work with, and I'm very, very fortunate to work with a tremendous staff. Joe Moorhead is our head football coach at Mississippi State. He's an incredible man. He hired a great staff, a very diverse staff, a group of great men who are teachers, they're leaders, they're role models, they're coaches, they're commanders, they're mentors, and he's hired us and allowed us to do our job. And I'm very, very appreciative to the job that Joe Moorhead provided me. Mr. Yurchek just got here a year ago. Today's the year anniversary of me being hired at Mississippi State, so I'm appreciative of that. Our defensive staff, I truly believe we have the best defensive staff in all of college football. We lock ourselves in the bunker and we get it done. We've got a great group of coaches. We've got a great group of GAs, quality controls, and analysts that really believed in our core values and made it happen this year. And most importantly, we had a great group of players. We had a group of smart, tough, aggressive, unselfish football players who bought into our core values of playing the game of football with tremendous passion, incredible toughness, and a team-first mindset. It was as funny years I've ever had in the profession. I just want to once again say thank you to everybody involved in the Broyles Award. I'm so honored to be here today. This has been the experience of a lifetime. Thank you very much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you just heard from 5 of the best assistant coaches in America. Is this not a great group? Let's give another round of applause for them. Oh my, you know what I did? How about that? CTE is real. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Our next finalist is Notre Dame offensive coordinator Chip Long. Under his guidance at Notre Dame, the offense has gotten better over the last 2 years, but what really stands out to me about what Chip Long was able to do this season is make the tough decision to take a starter in Brandon Wimbush, put him on the bench from a run-oriented offense, and make the change to go to a balanced offense, throwing the ball more with Ian Book. Their offense gotten better and better and better throughout the season. That's why Notre Dame is undefeated this season, and they're in the college football semi-playoff. Here's more on Coach Chip Long.
Chip Long, offensive coordinator, Notre Dame.
Some are calling Chip Long Boy Wonder. In only his 3rd year as an offensive coordinator and 2nd at Notre Dame, he has one of the country's most balanced offenses. Notre Dame can beat you with the run. Just ask Florida State. The Irish gouged the Seminoles with 385 yards on the ground. Long also has one of the country's most efficient passing games. Ian Book is ranked 8th nationally in pass efficiency. He's thrown for over 300 yards 4 times this season. Long's Irish offense is also very efficient. They are 23rd in the country in fewest penalties and 5th in fumbles lost. They also thrive on the important downs, 29th in the nation in 3rd down offense and 19th in 4th down conversion percentage. 9 years ago, Chip Long was a graduate assistant at the University of Arkansas. Today he returns to the state and joins an elite fraternity. Chip Long is a Broyles Award finalist.
No, I can't tell you how great it is to be back in Little Rock. You know, first I want to thank the Broyles family for everything they've done, the kindness they've shown my wife and my family. It's been awesome this week. I'd like to thank David, but obviously he didn't want me to speak tonight. But, you know, I was telling him a story last night. I can remember like it was yesterday, the first time I got to meet Coach Broyles. You know, I just got hired at Arkansas. I was in Coach Trino's office, and he told me to run down and get something out of his locker. And I was like, I have no idea where the locker room is or where it might be. So someone kind of showed me, and we were in a hurry for whatever reason. I don't know if it was a recruiting weekend or whatnot. But, you know, I go in the locker room. There's no lights on. I have no idea where the light switch is. And at the time, and Coach Nutt will tell you, they had these small couches. So I'm walking in a hurry, trying to find a locker, hit the couch, fall right on Coach Broyles, who was taking a nap in there the first time. So he gets up all flustered and wonders why I can't turn on a light switch. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Coach. I have no idea where the light switch is. So from that point on, I was light switch boy for the next 2 years, every time he came by and saw me. But, you know, it was really special to be around Coach Broyles, especially when we came to Arkansas, because his big motto was now he wants, you know, at the end of the day, you might have gone to Arkansas State, you might have gone to Central Arkansas, but at the end of the day, we're all Razorbacks. And, you know, it's just a special moment to come back here. It's really been a reunion for me and my wife to get to meet a lot of the friends that I knew and get to see them. You know, it was really special last night to see one of my former players who made me a really good coach in DJ Williams last night. I hadn't seen him in over a decade, and just to be able to spend time with him is what it's all about. So I got into coaching. Other than my parents, the coaches had the biggest influence on my life. And to come back and to see all the former faces, it's been really special. You know, secondly, obviously, we mentioned my wife, but would never be here without her. And obviously, I want to recognize her. We're expecting our second baby girl here in April, and to have her here has been really special. To have my parents be able to drive up from Birmingham has been really special to me. You know, to be around these coaches right here, it's humbling. It really is. And to be a part of this award and to actually be around Coach Broyles makes it even more special. You know, no longer am I falling down on him. I get to stand next to him. And that's really special to me, because that's why, you know, you grow up in the South, you grow up loving college football. And, you know, when I came to Arkansas, what made Arkansas special were the people. And nothing has changed from 10 years to now. And to see that, it's unbelievable. And, you know, I want to thank the University of Notre Dame. You know, they took a chance on a 33-year-old kid from Memphis after going 4-8. And Coach Kelly went up and interviewed with him, has been outstanding. And the risk that he took, I mean, you think about it now, it's gutsy. And to see our kids go from 4-8, when you go 4-8 at Notre Dame, it's a bad deal, all right? It's a small campus, and they remind you every single day you're going 4-8. And to see those kids buy into what we believe in and go 22-3 in the last 2 years, it's something special. See those guys walk around, because that's what makes Notre Dame special, are our players. They're the tip of the sword. They want to be great in everything they do, from the classroom to the field. And to see them walk around with the confidence and the bounce in their step has made my job complete. And obviously we got a great 2 games coming up. We got a great one versus Clemson. You know, they were all bugging me. It makes you uncomfortable being around these Clemson coaches. I was like, no, they're offensive coaches. Now they're D-line, that's a different story. And but no, just to be up here has been a great honor. What a great ceremony, great 2 days. It's a special time, and I can't thank you guys enough for the great, you know, showmanship you guys have done for us and my family. Thank you.
Thanks, Chip. You know, that's one of the great things if you look at this group. I said this was a really interesting group that we've had, and we've had 23 years of finalists, and every year has its own personalities. But what you love about this coaching staff is you got 35 years old in Chip and 37, I believe, in Jeff, and then you got some guys in your 50s and late 40s, and coaching is coaching. Doesn't matter how old you are. Doesn't matter. It's the bottom line is how you work with your kids. And we can't tell you what an honor it is to have you and your spouses here today. Coach, for you to come down here, Jay, to make it in time, and knowing that you got Navy coming up, you know, the fact that you got here Coach Broyles would be very excited to have have Service Academy represented for the first time. I did want to mention real quick before we announce the winner, for those of you who have forgotten, I didn't mention all these stats. Coach Broyles, just remember why there is a trophy. His assistant coaches, he had this amazing knack of being able to pick and mold great assistant coaches. Of course, Doug Dickey was one and Pat Jones right behind us. But his assistant coaches coached in 8 Super Bowls, 15% of all Super Bowls. They won 6 Super Bowls in a span of 14 years as head coaches. They won 5 college national championships, more than 40 conference titles, and more than 2,000 games. 2 of his assistants, Jimmy Johnson and Barry Switzer, are 2 of only 3 coaches in history of football to win a Super Bowl championship and a national championship as well. More than 25 of Coach Broyles' assistants went on to become coaches in the NFL or in college. Let me just throw out a couple names. Joe Gibbs won 3 Super Bowls. Jimmy Johnson, 2 Super Bowls. Barry Switzer, Super Bowl. Raymond Berry, Johnny Majors, Hayden Fry, Jackie Sherrill, Doug Dickey, Pepper Rogers, Pat Jones, as I mentioned, just to name a few. So that's why this trophy is here, and that's why we have a Broyles Award. Did want to mention, too, this award is not about giving just coaches an opportunity to become head coaches. Some of these guys have been head coaches before, but I do want to throw out a couple stats. In 23 years, 42 Broyles Award finalists and coaches have become head coaches. That's 45% of every coach that has come here through Little Rock has become a head coach. Now, just because you're a Broyles Award finalist doesn't make you a good head coach. But it is a great thing, and that was something I think Coach Broyles wanted as well. He wanted this award to promote and give assistants a chance to either get back as a head coach or become a head coach. 20% of all coaches in college football today, 20% have been to Little Rock. It's the head coach, 20% of all the head coaches have come through Little Rock as a finalist or head coach. One guy who's had a unique experience, I just want him to talk for a minute or two before we announce our winner. Houston Nutt's going to the Arkansas Sports Hall of Fame, one of the great sports figures in the history of this state. He was the last player to be recruited by Frank Broyles. He also was a head coach under Frank Broyles as an athletic director. And just we got a minute or two before we announce a winner, I wanted Houston to just come up and say a couple things about Frank Broyles. Houston Nutt, everybody.
Coach Broyles will be real proud. Be proud of Betsy, the grandchildren, the Broyles family. David is first class. And I tell you, he'd be real proud of the coaches. Really proud. And I tell you, I wish y'all could have seen this morning breakfast with Doug Dickey and Coach Jones. Some of the stories, it all goes back to Coach Broyles. They were great. And Doug Dickey just told me to say, Wilson Matthews would say, you done good. You done real good. Good ceremony. But I want to leave you with 2 things that Coach Broyles would say today that he always taught us. Number 1, it's the attitude of gratitude. Have an attitude of gratitude. And the second thing that he always told us, always be a giver. There's givers and there's takers. Be a giver, because once you give, you're a giver for life. That's it, David. It's on you.
All right. At this time, we want to bring up Betsy Arnold, Jacob Arnold, and Molly Arnold to announce the winner. So we wish we could do 5 of these, but we can only do 1. We're going to have 1 winner. And we'll let you keep this closed. Let you open it up.
Where's the envelope?
No envelope this year. No envelope this year.
No envelope. Okay.
And the winner is
Michael Loxley, University of Alabama.
Thank you for being here, everybody. Great ceremony. We'll see you next year. Thank you.
Time for him.
Yeah, and listen, David Bassett said it. This is one of the closest votes they have ever had in the 23-year history of the award. You could pick any number of these guys, but how can you argue with the results when you think about the change of offensive schemes that they went through?
Well, you think traditionally Alabama's a power run team and nothing else. 91st in passing a year ago. They go to 7th. They do have the weapons, but coaching's about maximizing your weapons, and that Alabama offense. And they did it basically all in the first half or third quarter. Tua played an equivalent of 8 games this season.
Right. Hey, and think about this. What a great story Michael Loxley is. Congratulations, Coach. He's going to join us live right here. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
How does the title sign? Broyles Award winner.
Unbelievable. What a tremendous honor to be associated with such a prestigious family, foundation. On behalf of the University of Alabama, I'm so excited. Great leadership there at Alabama under Coach Saban. Greg Byrne, our athletic director. Just a great honor, and it takes a lot of people to be honored with an award like this, and our players, the people there, and our fans at Alabama play a tremendous part in this role.
To put this in perspective, high graduate, Southeast DC, started a house, and you've been very open about a personal tragedy that your family has gone through. Put this in perspective of all that you have been through over the last couple of decades.
Very rewarding to be able to be honored as the assistant coach of the year with all that we've been through as a family this past season, losing our son Miko, and the way that the coaching community all came to support me and my family. It's just been tremendous. It's not surprising because that's what coaches do. They stand in the gap. And like I said before, all the great head coaches and assistant coaches that played a role in me becoming who I've become as a coach, it's a big thank you. And as Coach Saban oftentimes says, every thank you comes with an IOU, and today is one of those IOU moments. I owe all the people that gave me opportunities.
Ups and downs of coaching. You mentioned you were 2 years ago in the Nick Saban Witness Protection Program. You were on the lowest point as a coach, and look where you are today. A great example for other folks out there in this specific profession.
No doubt about it, but it's also the great example of how one of the greatest college football coaches is willing to give a guy a chance who had been a head coach, who wasn't very successful at the point. And I went there to learn why Alabama and why Nick Saban was so successful. And it's been a great, great opportunity for me to see and figure out how we've been able to sustain this thing. And it starts with great leadership. And again, I can't thank Coach Saban enough.
Give us the insight here, the insight from switching from Tua to Jalen, incorporating Jalen all year, and then you have to go to him in that very last game. You can't write a script like that.
You can, and what a great opportunity it is to have a guy that's won 28 games or however many games Jalen won to be your backup quarterback. It's a testament to the process that we have in place at Alabama that we're going to prepare our team, our whole team, for anything that happens, and for Jalen to be able to go in and execute the way he did under very clutch moments shows the type of character and the type of commitment that he made to improve himself throughout the course of the year and prepare himself for that opportunity.
You mentioned you pedal so hard as an assistant coach. What have these last 2 days been like just to have your wife here and kind of put life on pause and enjoy and just soak in the moment?
Well, I wish I could. I'm a little under weather. We had a big game Saturday, obviously a big win against Georgia. We started the recruiting process on Monday. I flew in late last night. I woke up not feeling real well. It's on the recruiting now, and I'm very excited, though, to win this award and be associated with Coach Broyles and all he stands for in the coaching profession. It means a lot to me and my family.
Congratulations. You did an incredible job with that Alabama offense. We got to see it firsthand at Arkansas. And what a machine. And quick strike and Tua. I mean, just incredible year.
It's amazing because those are the same plays I called at some of the other places where I wasn't a really good coach. And it just goes to show you having really great players and great leadership from the top makes a difference. And we've got a tremendous amount of players there at Alabama that are hard workers. You know, it's easy to say, well, if you coach at Alabama, you should be able to do that. But those players put in so much hard work, energy, and effort. And under Coach Saban's leadership, it's amazing that we're able to continue to do it year after year, game after game. And so what a great chance and opportunity I was given to be able to coach there.
Congratulations. Yeah, the Broyles Foundation, they always say very quickly, once you are a finalist for this award, never mind winning the award, you're part of the family here in Little Rock.
Well, thank you, and I'm so excited.
We'll see you back next year as the reigning Broyles Award champion.
Awesome.
All right, Michael Loxley, our Broyles Award champion for 2018. What a great group. You listen to these coaches and you want the first guy to win, you want the second guy to win. They all have such great stories.
You know, and it's so neat if you're a fan, this kind of event to me, because for once you get to hear these guys and their personal stories. That's the favorite part of the day for me is, hearing the ebbs and flows of how they got to where they are. It's all different. And we said in the beginning of the show, Sully, that this is a different group of guys. It's not all young up-and-comers. And Michael Loxley's a great example of that. This is somebody who's been a head coach before.
It failed as a head coach.
It did not go well for him as a head coach. There are reports he may be a head coach again in the future. But, this is not one of your Lincoln Rileys winning it. This is a guy who has gone through a lot to get to this point, and you feel good for him.
How good was it among all the blue bloods of college football? The best line today was Clemson, Alabama, Mississippi State, Notre Dame, they all have parade All-Americans. Army coach Jay Bateman, I have 50 guys who march in a parade.
And they've got a great on Jay Bateman, too. He flew in this morning. because they've got Navy on Saturday. So great of him to be here. Just a great event, and always fun for you and I and the entire KV team to be a part of.
Thank you for tuning in to the 2018 Broyles Award. Our winner, Alabama, seems to win everything. Alabama offensive coordinator Michael Locksley. We'll see you at 5 and 6 with the recap of the 2018 Broyles Award. Have a great rest of the day.